to the topics and stuff. Welcome to the show. Hope you can hit that share button and invite some people over because we want to inform and not so much entertain. We want to be able to distribute information. That's what's going on in our community, what's going on for the future generation, youth. And one of the most important things I wanted to start off with is the word love. I think this is the most important thing that we're missing in today's society when it comes to our community. Everybody is, phrase or title, we gonna take back the community. And that's fine for those organizations that want to promote taking back the community. But I prefer to talk about let's take back the lives of our future generation because we are losing a generation of young people that we shouldn't be losing at such an early age. So I want people to come and share with me and to share with people that I know. Taking back the community is important, but you cannot take back the community if you don't show the people that live in the community love. Our our youth is suffering from not being loved. And when that happens, we have a tendency of our young people being misguided because love is the most important element there is. Love is the most important element in a young person's life there is. We can talk about all the material things, all the things that we want to give them. But if you're not giving them the most important thing, and that is love, love is the key component to everything on the planet called Mother Earth. Mother Earth is the birthplace of life, of civilization. And if we are lacking to show them and teach them love, how will they know what love is? And when I don't, like I said, I don't usually quote scripture because I don't read the Bible like that. I just know what my spirit leads me to say. They said, people, we perish because the lack of knowledge. I think that means that we don't have the knowledge of love. We are not showing each other LOVE, love. We are born into a world that is unknowing to us. We are born into a world that when a man and a woman have a child, unknowing to the child until he gets a certain age or once he's born and he sees the face of his earthly parents. And it's all in how they treat him, the energy that he received, but it always boils down to LOVE, love. And we're responsible for our children when we have them. It's all written in scripture. Every mother, every father, divorced, separated, or just don't talk, you're still responsible for bringing a life into the world. And you're responsible for whatever that child do until they get 12 years old. Once they become 12 or 13 years old, all the bad habits, all the things that they begin to do is on them. The government, in return, tell you you're responsible for a child until they're 18 years of age. It used to be women were grown at 18. Ladies, women, girls whatever you want to call them with respect, were grown at 18. But a man wasn't. A man was not grown until he turned the age of 21. And I haven't did a lot of research in that area. Why? Maybe because the woman represents bringing life into the world. And most people don't understand, if you do your research and your history, when the English people came to colonize the United States, most women, white women, did not live through childbirth. Some did, and a lot didn't. And the white man was allowed to marry women at the age of 12. And at the age of 12, if she reached, through childbirth, that was because all the English settlers had land. And they couldn't afford to buy slaves. So they would try to have children. And if those children survive, they continue to work the land, tilt the land, and once they was able to buy slaves, work was a little bit easier. In our community, we don't show our youth love that they need to understand that our ancestors paid a big price in this country. And when we are not showing love to our young people, we have a tendency to think they're supposed to know all the things they need to navigate in this world and in society. The Constitution says we have a right to bear arms. The government says you have a right to bear arms, but you don't have the right to kill unless self-defense. I'm trying to figure out today, we don't talk about the topics we need to talk about. Like, how come when our ancestors was in slavery, they had guns? How come they didn't just kill people, kill the slave master, or kill each other? After slavery, the black man and woman had guns. They weren't running around killing each other. I think sometimes we are painted because we don't have the paint and the brush, nor the canvas. As an artist, I know that with paint and brushes or pens and ink, colored pens, pencils, whatever I want to draw and put on a piece of paper, that's what I can do. In your mind, you do the same thing. Or if you're not an artist of fine arts, you might be a writer. We write lyrics. That's art. Lyrics, the type of lyrics we write, the type of lyrics we speak. But we all have a responsibility to the generation, the future generation. And we all must take a stand against violence. We're losing a generation of young people because the lack of love, live your best life. How can you live your best life if our neighborhoods, people are dying every single day, young and old? It's like we created a community that's a war zone. We're in war. We're at war with one another. Let me say it again. It seems like in our community, we're at war with one another. How can you live a life if we are destroying the life that has not yet learned to live? We have a responsibility to our children, our grandchildren, to leave them a legacy so that our great grandchildren could live in a world of peace and love. What can we do about it? We can do a lot. But first of all, we got to understand or try to figure out how we got there. Well, some of the reasons why we got there, to me, the vote. As other populations decline, our population is growing in the United States. Our population is growing in the United States. And what we must do is learn to shelter, learn to teach our future generation that life is important. How come it is us that's always in the news? How come our lives are always splattered across the television from 4:30 in the morning to 6:30 at night, and then on the national news from 6:30 to 7? The vote is important. Wouldn't it be more important to put the gun down, pick up a book, pick up a pen, teach our young people right from wrong, and let them know the important things? We all want the toys. Even adults have all kind of toys. But that's a topic for another day. But what's important is that we, as the people, must teach the young what's truly important and how we got to where we are in life. Martin Luther King was once asked by a reporter, "Why do you use young people in all your civil rights marches? Why?" One of the statements was that you can tell a young person not to do something and they'll do it anyway. It's like a leverage. But today, we're not telling our young people anything. So all the anger and frustration they go through from the time they wake up to the time they go to school, to the time they get back on that bus, to the time they get back in the community, chaos is still going on. That's a war zone. That's a war zone. They're not living a life. They're just trying to survive. That's what people do in the war zone. In a community, you can ride around to some communities. You don't see no bunch of fighting and arguing. You don't see or hear about gunshots in this community or that community. Mostly in our community. To me, that's the lack of one important thing: love. For myself, for most of my life, I've been in the entertainment business in this area as a DJ in local clubs, radio. Now I do the internet talk show like everybody else. But my reason for doing it is talking to people so they can understand we all are the same. Don't matter if you're white, black, Chinese, Filipino, Puerto Rican, Latin, African. We all have a responsibility to learn to love one another. At this day and time on this planet called Mother Earth, things are changing at a rapid rate. The way we used to learn, the way we used to communicate is now just a flick of your iPhone, or I'm sorry, Android for some people. I'm an Apple man myself. I love them apples. I love them apples because I used to work in a produce warehouse, and you don't know how many different brands of apples there are. You just think that one apple that you look at is red. Don't you know that that red apple has a name? The one that people mostly eat on a regular basis is called a red delicious apple. And it comes in about, I say, random about 5 to 10 different sizes. You got the golden apple. You got a wine sap. You know, just some names of the apples I can remember because of working in the warehouse. A wine sap and a Roman apple, they are cooking apples. They're much firmer, much harder than your red delicious and golden apple. They are much softer. But if you want to cook an apple pie, you know, make apple jacks, you have to get an apple that can withstand being cooked, then put in the pie, the dough, fold it, and then fry it at a certain temperature. Oh, it's so many things that you get to learn when you come from a community of sharecroppers. My mother and father were sharecroppers from North Carolina before I was born. They had 7 kids, and I'm number 5, I think. Let me see. Smokey, Popcorn, Eve, Rob. Oh, yeah. I'm number 5. Maybe that's why I got the number from CAPTAIN85, because I'm number 5. But again, those are other topics for another day. We have to learn to talk to one another and get to know each other. So let me be the first to do that. My name is Henderson Vaughn. I was born to a mother and father name. My father's name was Levi Vaughn, and my mother's name was Myra Vaughn. And they had 7 kids. One of my brothers I never got a chance to meet when he was about probably 5 or 6 years old, I think my mother said. He got sick. And my mother took him to the hospital, to the emergency room. And they said he had pneumonia, double pneumonia back in those days. It might just be called pneumonia now, but he had double pneumonia. Hard for him to breathe. He died at the hospital because they didn't give him oxygen. So we have a hard time on this planet. But I've never, ever seen the hardest time than now, especially in the 757. We have people dying, as we used to say just in conversation. We see people dying that ain't never died before. Yeah, young people. Only way a young person used to die back in the day, at the most, might be a car accident. But we didn't kill each other. We on the same boat, the planet called Mother Earth, and we can't get off this planet but one way, and that is lest we die. So when we are dying, when I look at the news and talk shows and parents are there, I don't see no mothers crying. You might see talk a few, maybe, they see the cameras, it's action, no crying, you on TV. Maybe I don't know. I cried just looking at it. Most of my life, from a child to now, is I've always been concerned about the next man. I've been concerned about, I couldn't stand to see people fight. I couldn't stand to hit people, even if they did something wrong to me. I brought my kids up not to fight because that's the way I was brought up. My mother said, unless somebody hit your brother or your sister, you better not come home being in a fight. What? I can fight to protect them, but if I get in a fight, I'm going to get a beating when I get home. Wow. I think that sounds like Everybody Hate Raymond or whatever that TV show is with Chris Rock. I wasn't allowed to fight. Maybe because when I was going to school, I weighed about 70 pounds or 80 pounds. In elementary all the way up to junior high school, I was small. Everybody used to call me the little man. Hey, little man, if anybody bother you, let me know. And walking to school in Portsmouth, when I got from elementary school, in a special education class, you can only stay there till you're 13 or you turn 14, 13. And once you turn 13, you got to go to middle school. And that's, I had to go to, I was supposed to in my area. So I had to go to S.H. Clark. And man, that was a walk though. That was a kind of a healthy walk because we ain't had no bus tickets. You had to get up early, try to get to class. I only went there for maybe a couple of days or a week at the most. Clark, S.H. Clark back then was one of the worst the middle schools in Portsmouth. They would catch you at that back gate. You had to pay to get in that back gate if you ain't know nobody. They take you lunch. You had money. You had to pay 5, 10 cents, a quarter, whatever. You get in the gate just to get into school. I mean, it was some crazy stuff. But for some reason, going to school, my neighbors would look out for me and they would tell their friends to look out for me. But my mom, once she found out where I was at, you ain't going to that school. She had me transferred in 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, I was out. My mom transferred me to Harry Hunt. That was the mixed school when we just started integrating. And Harry Hunt on High Street, which is now a site for High C Narcom. And that's where I went at Harry Hunt until I turned 16. But I never really got in problems with people at school. I was always quiet. People were like, why are you so quiet? You don't talk to nobody. Well, I do talk, but my mom always tell me you only talk when you're in class, no talking, and only when the teacher asks you a question. Don't get sent home for talking or doing something wrong in school, because it ain't gonna be pretty. My mom was strict. I mean, like I said, my mother and father come from the country, from North Carolina. And we had to learn to obey, follow the rules of what our parents told us what to do. We got along with people. I got along with people in school. Only had maybe one incident that I didn't. That was in 2 incidents in middle school. That was when I was at Riddick Weaver and George Peabody. I got in a fight because we were playing around, as they call it back then, horse playing. Me and the guys was in my room was playing, and I would tell people when I played with them, don't rush me. I would just tell them, don't rush me. I don't mind playing with you, hitting, and I could take a punch, as long as you hit me in my face. We would catch each other and punch you on the shoulder hard as we could or stuff like that. But most of the time I couldn't catch people, so I was always the one that was getting the punches. But I would, I said, when I get tired, I don't want to play no more. I don't want to play no more. But, one thing led to another, and because the principal came by and saw us horse playing and told us to stop, and I didn't. And I didn't want to get sent home. And the guy that I was playing with, he rushed to try to sneak up behind me. And that's why I always tell people I'm a spiritual person. And I was talking to the other guy, and he was trying to sneak up behind me. And my spirit said, he's trying to sneak up behind you and grab you or do something to you. So when he did, I spun around real fast and went down. As he was trying to grab me, I stooped down, spun around, and picked him up by his ankles and dumped him on his head. And he got real upset. But like I told him, I told you, the principal said, stop playing. And he didn't listen. And I ain't getting sent home to get beat up by my mom. Because if you get beat up by mom, you're going to get beat up by dad, because she's going to make sure dad gets you too. That's the way it used to roll. That's the way punishment used to roll. If mom told you not to do something and she spank you or give you a whipping, then she tell dad to make you get another whipping. So I ain't feel like getting no beating, because I can't beat mom or dad. And you ain't want to try neither one of them, because what's going on in the community today is not discipline. Scriptures say, spare the rod, bend the rod, keep from sparing the child, or how vice versa, how that go. But we lack the responsibility to make sure our kids go to school and respect the teacher. All righty then. Respect the teacher. Ain't no talking back. Ain't no playing your iPhone or your iPad or whatever social media platform you try to reach while you in school trying to get your lesson. Unless the teacher tell you to pull this out, it should not be in your classroom interrupting the class. Now, let me say that again, because I done got off topic today. I'm going to catch up in a minute just to briefly touch on some things. But, when I'm led to talk about things, it's because it's important for our young people to know that they have a big responsibility being a teenager or in a child. You are learning. Because if you don't learn, you will burn. Because they say there's two places that is between heaven and earth. One is heaven, and the other one is hell. You will burn. Because we are spiritual people, spiritual creatures in human flesh. This, we didn't create it. It was created for us so that we could come to earth in spiritual form and enjoy a life as a human. But I don't know what went wrong. All I know is this. You can call it religion, spirituality, religion, and everything that you do so we can get it untwisted. Us talking on Facebook, listening to music, watching TV, eating food, playing video games, dressing up, going to the mall. It's all a religion. It means something you do on a daily basis, something you mean to do on a daily basis. So they took religion out of school and they put everything back in school but scripture. We got so many rules and regulations now. What's the purpose of going to school? I know that's what young people are saying because I done talked to some of them. And I raised 7+ nieces and nephews or helped in the process. But one thing I learned to teach my kids is when the teacher's talking, you keep your lips tight. Because if not, when you come home, that butt's going to be mine. Or the hands, the palm of the hands. I didn't like so much beating my children because that's what it is. A whooping is a beating. And you say, why? Because my son is a part of me and my wife. And if I'm going to beat him with something, I'm going to beat him with love. The last resort is to beat him with a belt or slap him or punch him or use a ruler or a belt and hit the palm of his hands. Because anything a person do is attached to him. We don't teach our young people things. We're letting them teach us because for some reason, parents became the friends of their kids. That's my best friend. No, no, no. That's your parent. In your mind, you let her be your friend or your best friend for the simple reason she let you do what you want. I don't see nowhere in scripture, I don't see nowhere in the 10th commandment that your mom and your dad is your best friend. It says, honor thy mother and thy father, and your days shall be longer upon, as I call it, Mother Earth. How's you going to be your friend to your mother and your father when you haven't been a son or a daughter to your mother, to your father? The elements we are taught are wrong because we see the results from which it cometh from. I know a lot of people don't say, hey, who are you to tell me what to do? I'm holding a conversation. I ain't trying to tell you anything. But one, why don't you sit down and think about it? Why don't you read a book? Why don't you sit and watch the news for a month every hour it comes on? I don't have to tell you nothing. I don't have to preach to the choir. I'm tired of seeing young people dying instead of having fun, enjoying one another's company, learning how to love one another like sisters and brothers. How are you killing somebody that look like you? How are you destroying somebody that's going through the same thing that you are going through? The pain and suffering. We can solve that. You want to fight? When you turn 17, you can now register to vote. You can now register to vote. And you might be saying, hey, why are you telling me about registering to vote? Well, because that's why we have all the problems. You could be the one that can change the situation in our community when you turn 18 and vote. Don't get it twisted, my friend. You have the power to change what's going on in our community. Michael Jackson made a song and he said, it's the man in the mirror. It's the man in the mirror. When you look in the mirror, who do you see? When I'm talking here, the camera is showing me. I'm talking to myself. I don't see you. I see me. I can focus in on laughing. Take my glasses off. Get closer to you. I can do all sorts of movement. And my movement for 2023, starting September, is to change the lives of our community, as y'all want to say. I'm just trying to get the information to these people right here, to the young people that need to hear. This is what they need to hear, that somebody loves them, Somebody cares. Somebody is in need. Can somebody explain to me? Somebody can explain to me, why ain't this being pushed? We pushing everything else. We pushing everything else. Our kids are dying for the lack of knowledge. It's not the knowledge in the book. It's the knowledge that's within love. If you show them, they will understand. You don't have to stay with a man that's mean to you or your children. Vice versa. You don't have to have your kids being bullied by people, because you're responsible for that too. You're responsible for how your child go to school and react to the teacher that get paid a salary to teach and educate your child so he can grow up and do the same. Go through the community and do the same. Teach his friends. I've heard people ask the questions, if you could talk to anybody famous that was dead, who would you want to talk to? And they might say to you, would you like to talk to Malcolm? Would you want to talk to Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Megan Everett? Mohammed, Buddha, Jesus Christ? Don't you know I wrote a paper? I had to write an 18-word paper on an alien that comes to Earth, lands, and says, take me to your spiritual leader. So who would you take him to? Who would you take him to? And we had several, 10 to 20, I think, different spiritual leaders. And most people don't know. There's over 3,000 to 5,000 different religions on a planet called Mother Earth. 3,000 to 5,000 or more religions on the planet called Mother Earth. It's probably more than that, because everything you do is a religion. When you go to a restaurant to eat, isn't there a congregation there? You call them what? Customers. But it's a religion, because they want to eat 3 times a day at different times of the day. If you go to the movies to see a movie, it's a religion. Who's there? A congregation who wants to see a specific movie or title. Stop getting it twisted. When you go to school, it's a religion. They just don't let you read the Bible. That's why they tell you you're being indoctrinated with different things and topics. When you go to the vote, listen to a candidate tell you what he's going to do for you. It's a religion. It's a religion. As Malcolm X said, you've been hoodwinked. You've been bamboozled. You've been run amok. You've been led astray. Martin Luther King said, what have I done to my people? I have led them into a burning house. When Martin Luther King used to do speeches, where was he in? Churches. Churches. It's a religion. The Bible said, well, there are two or more in my name. That's where I shall be also. Apparently today, where two or more is in God's name, gathered together, God's name ain't there. And remember, there's more than one God. So please recognize that as well. Our kids are dying because the lack of knowledge. I'm not that smart. I was in a special education class. It's because of my teachers cared so much about me. They taught me things that they wasn't supposed to do. Don't you know if your child doesn't reach or pass the 3rd grade, it's the pipeline to prison. Oh, yes, we going to prison, boys. We going to be locked up for many years. Pipeline to prison. I'm sorry. It's my fault to let you know that you are going to jail. You are going to jail. We have a responsibility because God gave us life here on earth to make a difference, not keep doing the same old, same old. I know I got many topics I was going to talk about. We can always do that. But sometimes when you're led to talk about certain things, you have to remember the important things. Our young people, the word love. And that's where the real adventures of Captain 85 come in. The real adventures of Captain 85. I have a name for a reason. Not just a DJ name, but the name Captain 85 is a character I created to let young people know, regardless of race, creed, or color, that they are loved. And we need them to grow up to take our place. We create all this stuff, all these things. And the people that is created for a dying industry. Dying industry. But the real adventures of Captain 85 is because we need love. We need to show our young people we care. We need them. And that's what I'm here to talk about. I know you said, well, you ain't talking about nothing. I heard that enough from everybody else. I know, but you ain't hearing it enough. You're not hearing it enough. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. I'm not pointing fingers at any man or any woman. All I'm doing is letting you know we got to do better because God sits high and looks low. And what are you going to do when he comes for you? You can't save everybody. I'm not trying to save not one person. I'm trying to get you to understand. I know a man that can save you. And I can tell you how to get there. I can tell you that if you live right, he will come into your life. You're going to never be perfect. No man is perfect. You cannot live on the face of the earth trying to be perfect. There's no such element. That went out when Satan landed here on earth. That's why God sent his only begotten son, so that you and I will have a chance for everlasting life. And you say, why? How you know that? Who told you? Maybe my spirit. Maybe I started listening to the spirit within instead of in the spirit with outward. Those people that come to you, hey man, come on, we going to steal something out the store. Parents, do you sit down and talk to your kids? Do you even tell them what they're stealing? Why they're in jail? How they got there? Why they there? Don't you know that everything you see in the store, grocery store, on internet is marked up over 200 to 300% and even more? You can't get it at the wholesale rate because the man that made it got to pay people to work. He has to sell it at a rate that he can get it, that the person that purchased it from him can put it at another price. He's called the middleman. And the middleman sell it to another man that's going to put another price on it. Before it get to you, it done pass about 7 or 8 people's hands. And when you get it and go purchase it at a store on the internet, it's marked up so much so that everybody get a piece of the pie. Why don't you teach your sons and daughters math? Because math is what dictates your life here on the planet called Mother Earth. You say, well, how's that? Because when you're born, you have a birth certificate. And at the end of your life, you have a tombstone that shows the beginning and your end. So why is it that our young people are seeing their beginning and end and you are still here? What are you going to do about it? What are you really, really going to do about it? Your kids come in the house whenever they want to. They bring friends or strangers in your house when you ain't home. What are you going to do about it? As the great duo, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, with their new movie coming out probably next year sometime. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? What you gonna do? Well, we got to stop sitting around pretending that we're gonna do something. Why? Because how many more people, young people, have to continue to die before we do something? How many more young people have to die? Because this is, if you don't watch my show, this is a video I made a long time ago about a poem that I wrote.
I saw an angel, but the angel didn't see me. I saw an angel crying, not out loud, with tears falling down his face. I saw an angel turning around and around, like all hope was gone. Silently and sadly, I saw an angel crying, not out loud. Feeling their pain, I struggled to regain my hope. Has this angel fallen from grace? Its face looking hopeless. I saw an angel cry, not out loud, softly, and no one even stopped to ask why. I saw an angel crying, not out loud, standing in a corner of a room, weeping. So I asked the angel, what's wrong? And the angel replied, nothing. So I replied, no one cries for nothing. But when I really looked, and saw the scars from days, maybe from years of abuse. I saw an angel cry, not out loud, but softly. Then I figured out the angel that was crying out loud was crying from another angel who was bullying them. I saw an angel crying, not out loud, just softly and silently. Let's stop the bullying in all of us so that an angel can stop crying in silence, so that they can learn to smile. I saw an angel cry, not out loud, but in silence.
That's what's important to me. That's what's important to me. The future generation. We have a responsibility. We have a debt to pay to live on this planet. We have a debt to pay for living on this planet. And that debt has to be met. That's what I believe. That's what I try to do. I try to find a way to pay the debt that I owe. My kids have grown up into adulthood. They got their own families. I got wonderful, great grandkids. I want them to have a legacy of living on a planet that they feel safe to raise their family. You have a responsibility for your children to be able to live in a world that when they step out their door, that they come back home safely, that they go to school and don't have to be bullied by people that's supposed to be their friends because someone else told them to punch that person or to slap that person or call them names because it feels good. What feels good? To see somebody in pain until it's too late, till someone gets sent to the principal office, starting down that road of being in trouble. I told you it starts at the 3rd grade, but it starts at home. What are you as a parent doing to raise your children to do what's right? And you're saying treating a person kind, treating a person that has less than you, right? That you shouldn't. I want you to look the best when you go to school. Buy expensive things that you can't afford. You in debt for somebody. You're going to be in debt to somebody because ain't nothing free. Ain't nothing free. I don't care where you go. Ain't nothing free. Did somebody tell you something that was free? Where is it? Name one thing and I can show you that it ain't free. Tell me what you get that's got the word free on it, that somebody somewhere is paying for it. But my time has come to run. We'll pick this topic up on Saturday. I don't want to overspend my time. I hope you share this link with somebody. And most of all, learn to care about our future generation and show them love. Until next time, this has been Captain 85.